clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Hello, Daft Punk's in the building. What's cracking, Fusemania?
Oh, just a lovely rainy Wednesday here in the Midwest.
Nice.
Is it nice and rainy where you are? And
no rain. We are very in the midst of summer. It's hot. It's humid. The AC's on full blast.
So it's a brisk 76 in your house, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think I had it set to 75.
You're a crazy man. I don't know how you live in that heat.
Well, this house, the AC doesn't work in the top part. It sucks. It needs to be looked at. So downstairs, when I go downstairs, it's freezing fucking cold. I go upstairs, I'm like, it's just the AC doesn't go up there. I don't know what to say.
Interesting. What's new? What's new in the life of Drew? Any random good gigs? I know you just did a gig at a private club. How was that?
That private club, I would say, has been a blessing in disguise. I kind of did it just to pick up a couple bucks to pay for some stuff. And next thing I know, I've got 2 weddings out of it and a bunch of followers on Instagram. Just they posted it at one time. So hey, who knows? You never know where these things come from.
And the location was on where like the boats hang out and stuff?
Yeah, it's basically right on the peninsula in Newport, and it's a private club. They pay, a flat fee to just be part of it. And then after that, you have to pay monthly, and they get some kind of deal with it. But no, interesting. Never found some of these spots, but man, those members are tight. They're like all in. So
crazy. It's good. In other news, we're back from the All-Star break in baseball. The Reds have yet to win a game, so that's been fun. And,
where was All-Star? San Diego?
Seattle. It was in Seattle. Oh. Looking for that first win tonight. Hopefully we'll get it.
Good luck. We are going to DJX.
Oh yeah,
Expo, Atlantic City, and we're doing a Sacagawea party, which is a $1 coin party. So make sure you go take $100 to your local bank and cash that in for some Sacagawea coins, because we're going to be going to a happy hour and spending $1 coins at the happy hour. Should be a lot of fun.
I can't wait until everybody shows up with $100 and $1 coins each, and then the bartender gets so fucking pissed, and they're gonna be like, "Who orchestrated this?" And I'm gonna be like,
I'm glad you got the briefcase for it this time, because we're just dumping all of them in there.
Oh man, that's gonna be a disaster, and I can't wait. Like I said, I'm just gonna tell the bartender it's at a casino. I'm just gonna be like, "I hit the jackpot. All these coins came out."
They are legit. They could go check them, but it is what it is. And if they try and stop us, we're going to the next hotel lounge bar. They ain't stopping us.
So yeah, we're going to be there Sunday through Wednesday. We leave early Wednesday. So if anybody listening is headed out to the DJX, make sure you link up with us. We'll be giving away some swag and stuff like that. Also, if you guys haven't yet, make sure you use the promo code Drew and Fuse Show. It'll get you 30% off your first month of activation. Once again, that's promo code Drew and Fuse Show. It'll get you 30% off your first month of activation on directmusicservice.com. Also, we do have the YOLO line still. It's 562-246-YOLO. If you want to call in and leave us a voicemail, you could do that. Moving forward, we have a great guest for today. He was named one of the top 100 DJs in America. Played a lot of big venues all over the United States and some big ones in Vegas, including Tao, XS, and Omnia. He's the official DJ of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's on the legendary B96 radio in Chicago. He shared the stage with Khaled, Diddy, many, many more. Please help us welcome Jerzy.
Hey,
hey,
what's up, guys?
How's it going?
It's going good, man. We're having some nice weather in Chicago. I know you said you were in the Midwest too, so
yes,
we have beautiful, sunny, and 75. It's usually we get the weather first, and I think you guys get it like right afterwards for the most part.
It's been just really rainy here the last 4 or 5 days, so it's kind of sucked. It is what it is.
It's the Midwest. It's the Midwest. At least we're getting not the cold, and we're in the good months right now.
Yeah, Drew was doing a drive. He was doing a little driving tour with the fam a couple years back, and I get this text out of nowhere. He was driving from Cleveland to Cincinnati, and he's like, "I'm pulled over on the side of the road. Does it always rain like this here?"
That's awesome.
No, he did tell me afterwards. He's leaving this part out, but he's like, "Yeah, you were like basically in the tornado tunnel."
I wasn't gonna tell you that.
And then I'm in this little fucking tiny, rent a car. It's like the cheapest one we can get, and I swear we're just getting blown around. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die on the way to Cincinnati.
I had to do a show in downstate Illinois, and I have Sirius XM, and I just listen, whatever. I'm just listening, and a lot of people just don't realize when you go on those like long road trips, you just kind of forget that it's not local, right? So I'm driving, I'm like, man, those clouds it's the sky just turned like green and purple. And I'm just like, oh, whatever, I'm just like going. And all of a sudden, it was like, that was a tornado. I think it was just everything at once. Hail, rain, you couldn't see in front of you. Everyone's pulled off to the side. And I'm like, why are they even talking about this on the radio? I was like, holy shit, this is XM. I'm like, so I turn on the local, radio, and it's the emergency sensor that's going off. Like everything's, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm like, what do you, like, there's a cornfield on my left, there's a cornfield on my right. I'm like, what are the procedures for something like this? So I'm just hitting my truck. I'm just kind of like this. I'm watching the other cars to see if those guys are doing, but you can't even see in front of you. But I can 100% relate. It's definitely a Midwest thing, or I don't know if it's a tornado alley or whatever they call it, but it's scary, man. We need some sort of precautions and, notifications about that.
Anything like a sign or anything.
Shit's coming your way. Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about kind of like your backstory and coming up and how you kind of got started in DJing.
Yeah, I started out of high school, or kind of my last year of high school. I started promoting nightclubs. I was about like 17, 18. I was working a lot of clubs downtown and some in the suburbs. Actually, I was like working with an Indian promotion company, and that was just my foot in the door. I was the only white guy there, and it was just Indian parties and doing those. And then I got an in for another promotion company that was affiliated with the radio station that's in Chicago, a big one, B96. A lot of those guys were doing promotion for nightclubs, and a lot of the DJs were working for this, and they would just go to different bars, and they were kind of using the radio station as leverage. I don't even think they were supposed to be doing that, but it was kind of like, hey, so-and-so from this radio station, we're throwing parties. And it was confusing people. So people thought it was like a radio station party. And this is the days of radio being the biggest thing ever. It turned into like, we just had huge following. So I started working for that company, started doing nightclubs at that time. Even at 17, 18 is when I got my DJ equipment, kind of just was messing around, DJing in the bedrooms. And then learned off of like a lot of the guys that were on the radio at that time, teaching me like, I think you had Flipside on the show, actually. Yeah. Flip taught me a lot. I was always under him and another guy named Speed, and those guys were just kind of like the guys in Chicago. Like they were playing everywhere. They were just, everyone idolized them. So I kind of learned a lot from them and how to program. And then I started doing mobiles as opportunities, just because I think a lot of DJs just kind of fall into it, at least in my time. I don't know. Now it seems like kids get equipment and they're able to just DJ college parties and then they're at nightclubs. But I actually had to go through like this mobile part of my life where it was, I was 19, 20 and DJing proms and weddings, so many weddings. And then just kind of graduated into nightclubs, fell on my face a few times. And I think everyone kind of does that. And I think this is something that like, I don't know if I don't see it as much anymore. And it's just, they used to just pull us off. Like if we sucked, they would just be like, get out of here. Yeah. They were pretty harsh. And I looking back, I respect that I'm not trying to see like, hey, that's the way it needs to be done, like an old school dude. But like, it made me go back home and think about what I messed up doing, and like what do I need to focus on, and like really pay attention to the guys that they do like, take notes and be like, this is how it needs to work in this room specifically, or this is how we need to be programming, not go out there and just tear it up and play all the hits and stuff like that. It really kind of taught me programming.
I want to interject. I went to a college party recently, and just exactly what you're saying, these guys, they had like 4 DJs jump on, and I think all 4 of them had to have a clue what they were doing. It was funny just watching the shock on their face, and one came out of the gate with an old freestyle track, because that's what he, that was his version of old school. It was like Danger. And I'm like, what the fuck are you playing right now, dude? It's just so left field. Yeah, they're letting them just grind it out now at the college bars. Whereas, yeah, we all I felt like I got started in mobiles too.
I got benched. I mean, there was times that they'd be like, I'd get text messages from the managers, and they'd be like, what did you just play as I'm DJing? I'm like, I don't know. I thought I played this song. He goes, all right, well, you're sitting out next week and think about what you just did. And I'm like, wow, and now I go to places, and there's great DJs that play early, and there's ones that you could just tell have never had to go through that type of I don't know, punishment or just boot camp. It's definitely it makes you tougher, because you got to build up thick skin. And I even try to tell some kids that will play early. I say, hey, you need, this is like a very important part of the night. Like, this audience that's here right now, you have to warm them up. You have to, really engage in them. You got to see who's in that room, and they don't really get it. They're just kind of like, yeah, man, whatever. I'm just going to do what I'm like, I'm trying to help you, but they don't really care. I'm not saying all of them, but there's a good number of them that just never got that, just
tough
going
love
through that. Exactly. And
yeah.
I'm just kind of like, man, I really wish they do, because it's really going to help you, and you need somebody. And I also think that a lot of places may not care as much anymore. They're, just from the leadership from the top all the way down to, whoever, is just kind of like, they just going, hey, the bottom line is we need to make money. I don't care what you're playing, play the same song 4 times. But, 15, 20 years ago, it was, yo, like this, you never play this song before midnight ever in our room. There was do not playlist that we had.
I feel like my tagging and like cue pointing and all that got really good from, just a tough manager that I had would stand on top of me and be like, play this next. Do this now. That bottle service wants this. And you're just like, fucking, you have to be so fast and so on point. You can't be searching some shitty tagged file that you can't find.
I even had that all the way up until my first Tao date was in 2013. And they did the same thing. Like, I mean, I would, the music director at the time was in the booth with me, and he'd be like, hey, what did you just play at 12:36? I'm like, I don't know. And he would just be like, well, when you do, that's when you'll be able to come back here and play. Like, it was like, wow. Like, it was pretty much like they listened to every single song that you played, and how, if it was just, you could have the best set in the world, but that one song that you played at this time, don't ever do that in my venue again. I was just like, okay. And it showed me, like, I was like, all right. And I kind of like that, because if you're going to be this serious about it, then I'm not like, I'm going to go in there and be that serious. And it motivated me, because if you're taking this job and every song that detailed, like, it's going to make me that much more focused on doing such a good job, and not going like, oh, they don't care, whatever. Like, I'm just going to drink and take shots. I'm like, no, man, like, this is our job. Like, we got to focus. I want everyone to be on the same page. And I like that kind of like, we're like soldiers going to war. We're like, yeah, let's get this done collectively.
So, and just for the guys listening, I think one of the things to mention too is that it's important, because an opener in Chicago where you play until 4 a.m. is a necessity too, because it's one of the few places, where you can go play a gig, an early gig, and then you go play a late gig too. I notice a lot of the Chicago guys are always bouncing around to multiple gigs in a Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah. So there's two different types of license you can get. There's well, not really anymore, but those are grandfathered in, the 4 a.m. license. The 4s. Saturday, it's also really weird. When I started traveling, I thought everyone just kind of did this, but on Saturdays, 4 a.m.s go to 5. Everything goes an hour later. So there's 2 a.m. clubs that only have a 2 a.m. license. So 2s go to 3 on Saturday. And then all the other days they're just standard at 2 and they're standard at 4. But there's only a handful of those late night places that still exist. And once that license is gone, it's gone. Like you can't get it back. The city is not going to issue it again. So there's been few places that have just did not want to renew the license or not pass it over to the next ownership. And that's happened. And it's kind of like, screw the next people, because having a 4 o'clock license means a lot. I mean, there's only a handful of places that people are going to go to after the 2s close. So it does, it does bring in a good amount of people. Also, though, I've noticed it depends. Like, I don't really know what numbers look like. If a 2 a.m. is going to get better numbers than a 4, you would think, because people drink more. But the more knowledgeable people are that, hey, that's a late night spot, we go there after places close. I don't know if they're doing the same like crazy numbers as the early spots that get busy at 11 p.m. until 2 compared to the ones at 2 to 4. People are already drinking at that time.
Yeah.
Like, how many more bottles are you going to order? In the people that do it
They're
well,
just shitty.
yeah. And the people that I've seen that do have that 4 o'clock license that do it well, they do it at they'll do like bachelorette parties from 9 until 11. And then 11, they'll do something else, like a fashion show. And then they do this, then they capitalize on their late night. So they're busy from 9 p.m. until 4, the places that do it well. The places that don't really care, just kind of like their main part is that 2 to 4, and that's it.
And have you noticed that like post-pandemic in Chicago, it's been harder as well, like in terms of like the late stuff like hasn't come back as much?
I collectively, I think the city in Chicago, and I love it. I've been here my whole life. It's just changed. I think that the areas, we obviously have a little bit of a crime problem. I'm sure you've seen on the news, but it's also, I think that what you see on the news is also like, it's not as bad as they make it sound.
That's why I had to stop watching the news. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
it's just
a lot of it is just kind of like, come on, like they make it sound like if you step outside, you're gonna get shot or robbed or something like that, and it's definitely not like that. And obviously, crime does go up late nights, and just be aware. Any big city that you're in, you should always just know your surroundings. And I don't care if you're in Cincinnati or if you're in wherever, like you just have to pay attention to where you're at. And, a lot of these people are drunk and they're stumbling around and, they get robbed or they get, jacked and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different areas too in Chicago too. It's just not necessarily just, it's all over. It's just some of it's a River North, some of it's, and they're pretty spread out. The late night spots recently, I haven't really, Tao's a late night. They have a late night license. Some of the other places, I would say after the pandemic, things have there hasn't been so much hype, I think, around the nightclub scene. I just think there hasn't been a movement in a long time. And I think that we were in a bubble for a good portion of 2010s to 2020s or 18. And I think once that bubble popped, it's kind of like a correction. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Yeah, you remember nightclubs back in 07 and 06, and it was just kind of like ramping up. We kind of topped out at a certain point, and now we're just kind of waiting for that new movement. People are kind of burned out. You went to nightclubs from 2010 because the music kind of drove you to go to nightclubs. Like, it's weird to hear an Avicii song in a dive bar. You want that full experience. You want the lighting. You want the cryo. You want the glow sticks. Now it's like the music doesn't really need that as much. At least the popular stuff that's on the radio. I don't think you need all those elements. I think we're just in a place that we're looking for a new movement to take over that we can capitalize on, especially us being DJs and open format and just our backgrounds. That's another thing too, like coming up, our music knowledge is, I've been telling people this for a long time. The guys that came up, we had to have like this vast music knowledge. It wasn't just so one genre or one EDM that's going to be the popular. Like, dude, I hate 70s music, and I have to know disco records, and like to play in these nightclubs at that time. And when I started playing nightclubs regularly, it was like 2006, 2007, 2005, around there. They were like very like, they're like, hey, you got to do your 80s set. I'm like, my 80s set? I was like, I'm like, what? And like now you ask somebody to do an 80s set, they're going to be like, I don't know. I don't even have any 80s, So
here's the outfield.
Yeah. And our knowledge, I think our knowledge and experience in so many years of, doing that, it's kind of like, there's not a lot of people that can do that. And unfortunately, a lot of the places don't utilize that ability anymore. Like it's not needed. It's almost like we're overqualified for the position that we're put in. Just like any job or anything, a lot of the stuff that we do kind of goes over people's heads, unfortunately, because the crowds are not at that level as they used to be musically, and just awareness of like talent and stuff like that. I think AM kind of put it on the forefront, where it was just like, people knew about AM. They knew he played all these crazy things. So then they kind of expected that in that early 2000s era.
It's coming back a little bit with the TikToks.
It is, yeah.
ABBA being giant, and Rasputin played the other night.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the fuck do you know this? I know it's a big TikTok record, but still.
I think, and that's exciting that they do, the songs that were big in the early 2000s that we were coming up playing are huge now, and they actually know the words to them. And singing along, and they're as popular as ever. So that's a really good point, and it is true. I just don't think there's necessarily a movement for it yet. Like you can play an ABBA song, we can't play 6 discos in a row in a big room that that's doing battle. But in 2005, 2006, you're able to kind of do that, or you can go from a disco to Sweet Child of Mine to a 90s throwback record to something like Poison or something, and that was all acceptable. Jackson 5. If I was to do a set like that now, I'd get a text message from a manager saying that, like, in the places that, actually any place at this point, they would just be like, this is not what we do. Like, what are you doing? I do see, yes, it's slowly creeping in, but we don't have a movement right now. And at least for open format DJs, I think the tech house world is kind of has seen commercial success. And I think those guys that have been underground for so many years have kind of bubbled up, and they're getting the spotlight right now. But for people, I'm speaking for what I do, what you guys do, open format, in that sense of the business, we don't really have something that everyone collectively is grasping onto in that market.
We've talked about this quite a bit on here, and how, the nightclubs, as a whole, are kind of dying out. Well, as a nightclub, there's only very few left. And each city's got a couple, but it's really cool right now to be not cool. Like, that's what's the cool thing. And when Drew talks about it all the time, when he's talking with his couples for weddings or whatever, and they're like, no cheesy stuff, he has to be like, wait a second, what is that to you? And they're like, no Bruno Mars, no this, no that. And then, to me, when I hear no cheesy stuff, it would be like, no ABBA, no, no Footloose, no, now it's kind of like all that stuff's cool again. Like you're playing ABBA. A country song is the #1 song in the world. It's all just weird to me. And
descriptions, I think, are always messed up. The way people interpret music is always going to be different. Even people with musical experience or music background, I call something tech house. Like the purest tech house DJ is gonna be like, that's not tech house, that's pop. And I'm like insulting that, just like someone is gonna go play hip hop, and I'm thinking hip hop, and they're like, hip hop is Bruno Mars. I'm like, holy, this is not where I'm like. So now you're even more confused. So I think you just got to find that middle ground where you both kind of understand it. There's like, are you referring to this? You referring to this? And some of it's just kind of your knowledge and experience. It's like, okay, what does this guy do for a living? He's a banker. Okay, so his definitions are not going to necessarily be the same way I look at a song or a track or something like that. To what you were saying about the nightclub world, I do think that there is people want experiences. They don't necessarily want to go to a room with 4 dark walls and lights anymore. It needs to be something you're going to leave. Now, there are people that do that. And I think there's a lot of those people that, some of them look for an excuse to do drugs. They just want they don't want to do it at their house. They just want a place to be kind of social. But I think I'm talking about the main club, or just the main going out on a Saturday night audience, the masses, they want a full experience. They don't want a room with black painted walls, neon signs, or whatever you put up. They want that full, hey, give me something different. Put me in. I've been to some cool venues recently that was pretty much a house. It was a straight up house. They made it look like a house, couches and chairs and everything. And it was the best party in the world, because it felt like you're in a house party. Everything to the doorbell was there. And they had full bars, and the kitchen would be kind of a bar. Cool things like that. I think people that's really going to give somebody that, I don't necessarily think I'm in just a in a nightclub, and also the term nightclub is kind of dated. It's weird because the kids now that are
So now
21, you don't want to hear your parents going like, we used to hang out in nightclubs. You're like, that's what my parents did. I don't want to do that. There's the terminology is kind of old too. It just sounds like, oh, I'm going to the nightclub. It's like, okay,
all the way back to 100 years back. We'll start calling it cabarets. We're going to the cabaret.
yeah. And like exactly. So if your parents go like, we're going to I don't think your parents that old, but like if they said like we're going to a cabaret, you're like, I'm not going to a cabaret, I'm going to a club. So like you don't necessarily want to do the same thing your parents did, because then you're just like, that's the old way of doing things. There needs to be a new movement. I think a lot of people are scared too. I think people are scared to take that risk and take those chances to go, we're going to be something different. There have been places, and I commend them on taking those risks and doing that left field approach. And I think those and over time will, work. I think the places with 4 walls and just some lights and, whatever, and they go, hey man, we're going to do we're just going to just do it this way. It's cool, but it's just it's just a dying way of, it's dated. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So we want to talk a little music, more music. We've talked a little already. We're going to roll this video and then we'll come back with some questions.
Hey, Drew and Fuse, Kermit the Frog here. When I'm not dealing with my pain-in-the-ass wife, Miss Piggy, I like to talk and sing with my friends. What's your top songs? A new personal favorite of mine is this. It's the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, and they clean up nicely, because usually they look like shit. Yay!
All right.
I've been waiting to see these. That's pretty amazing. How much was Kermit? Was that a high price?
Well, we had to call up a favor from Jim Henson himself to get that one. So,
Love it.
Yeah.
So one of the things we like to ask is if you have a favorite remixer or producer, and that's not just in the DJ world, just in music in general.
I like anyone that's trying something different. Like I said, I think that things are kind of pushing the culture forward. I know everyone, Kanye, I'm from Chicago, so Kanye is still a legend here. I think I'm more for his older stuff, but even his new stuff, but he's kind of in the shits right now. But I think musically as a producer, I really thought everything he came out with, he always changed the genre. Like hip hop necessarily wasn't just, it's just not one black and white. He colored the different, every album almost was something different for the most part.
Are you playing any Kanye right now?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
I stay pretty, I don't want to try to push that. I think over time things hopefully will be healed, but even in Chicago, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't think the crowds really care too much. I've heard other people playing it, Kanye records, but I think it depends on who you're playing for too. I've noticed that you're playing for a younger audience, they don't give a shit. The older audiences, 35, 30 plus, you're going to have some people in there flicking you off and stuff like that. So I kind of just, he doesn't have it's not like there's a huge hit right now he came out with. Should we play it or should we not? Everything would be throwbacks anyway. If I can go around those records, I do. But I trust me, I have a whole Kanye set that I go through, and it sucks I can't play it.
Yeah.
But I always like Kanye. I like Fred again. I like what he's doing with the sampling. I guess I just love samples because Kanye always used samples back in the day. I like guys that take something that you would think is just trash and they kind of make something out of nothing. I think Kanye used to do that with samples that you would just never think of that could be a hit song, and he would flip it. Same as like Fred, he's taking YouTube videos and taking clips of different things. Skrillex used to do that too, and that's very unique. I think the creativity is what really shines through for me. That catches my ear.
I always liked Kanye's production too, and I'm the same with you right now. It's like if I not playing it, it's like if you can avoid making any kind of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but in your
Waves.
set, yeah, or like pissing anybody off. I think it's good to avoid pissing anybody off when you can, unless you're
you do
intentionally.
baseball games too.
Yeah.
And like I do, the Blackhawks, and you got to be conscious of your audience too. You know, you got to be smart and doing things that are appropriate. And, you know, there's going to be a wide range of people in that audience. You don't want to offend anybody. You don't, as much as like you think that people, you know, your background or whatever it is, people tweet and, or whatever they're using now. They're putting messages on out there. And it says like, I've gotten the messages like, oh, the DJ's killing it right now. Or like, why did he just play this? I'm like, watch the game. I'm like, there's a game going on. I'm not worried about what I'm playing right now. And it's like my bosses are reading it too. I'm like, guys, stop. Like, that was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. They're like, oh, do you hear he messed up? I'm like, oh my God. So got to be conscious of these things. And I'm always like aware of it. I used to have, you know how on Serato you have like those little like sound effects that drops and whatever. I used to have like ones in there that had stupid sayings, or it may say like you drop an F-bomb or something. It was just like a funny thing that I used to play in a club or whatever. And I realized, I go, hey, if my finger slips and I hit this in an arena, that's a big problem. So I took all those things off, and just like being smart and just like, hey, I can't have these mistakes happen, because all it takes is one slip up, someone tweets it, and that's it. Like you're gone. Or heaven forbid something like that goes viral, and it's on, hey, this DJ did this, and it's like, oh man, and it was just an accident. But you should be smart enough not to put things that have the profanity in your sound effects. And those are things you just don't think about. You know, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm a nightclub DJ, but yeah, shit like that.
If you had to pick one song as your theme song, it would play everywhere that you went, when you went grocery shopping, when you went into Target, when you got gas, what would it be?
Man, I'm a weirdo. Like I listen to I really like the Michael Myers theme song. And I sound like a psychopath, but dude, I grew up listening to, I'm a big fan of Halloween, and I grew up listening to it. And I love composers, and I just saw John Williams in LA at the Bowl last week. I just love the emotion that comes through that. It's a very dark record, but I call it a record, but it's just a score. It's just really, I don't know, it's powerful, but I'm not necessarily think that like, I'm like thinking I'm going through a grocery store, I'm listening to Michael Myers theme song. I'm like, I sound like a crackhead. But that was probably I hope no one else is like, that's probably the weirdest song you guys have got. But yeah, I don't know, man. That thing, yeah, it pumps me up, man. I just get like psyched when I hear it.
I love that.
I love the Halloween movies too, and it's crazy to think that how low budget of a movie that was, and how
great,
big,
man,
big of a budget it made or how big of an income it made at the box office.
I'm such a nerd. I was in Pasadena last week, and I went to the house to see. Took a picture of it and everything. And I was like, it's a insurance office, and like it's a historical home. It's like one of the first homes in Pasadena, and they painted it a different color and everything. And it's funny. It's a cool.
Is there a lot of people that like gather around it?
No, just me. I'm just the weird guy.
Well, I went out and visited Drew and drove past the Ferris Bueller house, and we took a picture out front of it. And then like some guy pulled in the driveway as I'm like standing out there taking a picture, and I thought he was like gonna get pissed. And then he was like waved me over, and then he started telling us like all kinds of random facts about the house and the movie. So that was pretty cool.
That's funny. I did the Home Alone house during Christmas. I had to do that. I love movies too, so like I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that. I was just like, it just felt like going to the Home Alone house on Christmas was just like, it just felt appropriate. And there was like 1,000 people outside for that.
Oh yeah, I believe
So
that.
I didn't feel too weird on that.
So we talk a lot of times we do what's called the Serato Top 5, where we talk about the top 5 most played in your Serato. If you want to talk about some of those, great. If not, if you want to just tell us some big songs that you've liked playing, that's cool too.
Yeah, top 5. So you do plays, right? You just click on plays.
And there are glitches in the plays. We noticed that some people put numbers in the plays. Mixed in Key will add plays to the play counter randomly as well.
It's mine's not accurate at all. I do my stuff weird.
We like to just if it's all messed up, then just the top 5 tracks you're playing that you think are smashing either right now or just, that have always worked over the time?
Man, like you ever have those like crutches that you just kind of like, no matter
Yes.
where you are, you just kind of lean
course.
on. And I don't know why. I like Pop That always ends up in my set. Don't know why. French Montana, Pop That. Like that song just has that energy. It's cool, but it always works. ABBA's really good right now. Is it ABBA or ABBA? It's ABBA? ABBA or
I
ABBA?
don't even know.
You guys-
Potato, potato, tomato,
All right,
tomato.
I'm gonna say ABBA. All right, so ABBA it always like works really well. Dude, I was doing a show in Cleveland. They made me do. I was playing a disco spot. I don't know disco that well. I know enough to get by, and then I start offending people because it's not a disco song, and I thought it was. So I'll play a little bit. So I actually had to do like a full disco spot, and I was like, okay. So I did all this research on Spotify, and building these playlists, and doing all this shit. And I come across like Mamma Mia. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, yo, this is a disco song? I didn't know. I was just like, I thought it was just a movie soundtrack, song or whatever. And I was like, man, I love this song. I probably played it 1,000 times and just over and over and over again. So like when I wasn't playing the Michael Myers theme song in the grocery store, I was playing the Mamma Mia. And I'm walking around. I love that record. That's
Quite the contrast.
And it goes off too. And I didn't know other people loved it too. I was just like, I thought I was just being I don't know.
It goes off.
I was like, yeah, it goes off. Like, I don't hear that. People are playing Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. And that's obviously like the go-to. But man, Mamma Mia, that's your curveball. Like that's going to go off.
Yeah. There was a little documentary on Netflix, and they talk about pop music, and like it was one of the ones where T-Pain says Akon, I think, offended him, and he got sad. Anyways, one of the episodes in there is ABBA talking about the basically revolutionizing the Swedish house or the Swedish music sound, and that's where Dr. Luke ends up coming from, and kind of that whole sound with all those producers that were just destroying everything back in the days. It's a good episode.
Crazy.
It's called like Pop or something. It's on Netflix.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I would definitely check that out.
Is there any other crutch songs or anything else that you go to that are go-tos besides Pop That and Michael Myers and Mamma Mia?
For some reason, I always lean on Fat Man Scoop stuff. I don't know. It just works still. As much as actually my intro is I have a Fat Man Scoop. He did a custom. Scoop did a custom intro. Like this whole. It's actually kind of funny.
You got to flip it in with a Michael Myers with Fat Man Scoop on top of it.
Yeah, I don't think crowds are gonna be like, what is this guy doing? It's not even Halloween. It's the middle of July. I'm like, this is my song, guys. Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of weird in certain ways. So yeah, but the Fat Man Scoop stuff has been, I don't know, like the Be Faithful. Obviously, that song just doesn't die. It's always kind of. Even the weird thing is like it's not a TikTok song, but younger kids are liking it too. Like I just think his energy is like there. It just translates to any age group. You can play for older people, you can play for younger people. That voice, it just carries through. Some people just have good mic voices. He has a great mic voice, and that's just like John or somebody else. It's always going to be there. So yeah, I mean those records right now, a lot of the throwbacks are just taking off more than I ever thought. It's kind of a guessing game here and there. Now I'm seeing that like, hey, this song works, and I've done radio I've been on the radio for 18 years, so I know when like records kind of came out with another record. I'm like, all right, Sierra O goes well with this or whatever. Well, you guys know this one. You got to know this one. I don't know why. It's just they're actually we played these records back to back on the radio. No idea why you guys know this one, but don't know this one, and it's been happening. I've noticed that too.
In the same vein of stuff, is there something maybe that you're playing at the Blackhawks arena that you guys have like a custom, a unique song to the team, or do you have any other songs that are just like big, huge anthems that you guys like to go to?
Chelsea Dagger is our goal song. I think it's by the Fratellis or something like that. And then no, not really. It's funny because the players, they kind of do a survey and begin. You're like, what do you guys want to hear? And they're all young kids for the most part, so they'll be like, it's funny when the older generation of players wanted to hear rock music. And I just remember growing up, going to the games, hearing them play rock music. And then it went to EDM, big EDM, a lot of EDM records in the 2010s. And now the kids, the players are requesting hip hop. What's hard about the hip hop is that you got to have energy because it's also warm ups. I got to play like a lot of trap remixes, and it's kind of hard because they're not coming out like they used to. I feel like 6-7 years ago it was like everything had a trap remix, and now it's like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's hard to find that stuff. Like I do a lot of stuff for Fit Radio, and one of the stuff, like one of their big channels is like hip hop and trap, and it's so hard to like find anything in that in that realm.
The trap guys have gone to almost drum and bass, and it's gotten to a point where I'm like, I can't really. Drum and bass is a little too crazy for this audio, like for even the players. It's just too much. So, or it just doesn't have that groove. And I think that some of the trap records, it's hard to find now. It definitely is. Or just people producing them, like finding different edits with them on there. I have like a few SoundClouds that I follow that put up edit packs, but even those guys are putting up edit packs like once a year compared to it used to be like every couple months.
Do you have to at the ballpark, everything like has to be like squeaky clean? Like they have some rules, like more specific rules. So like even some of the stuff that's labeled clean, I have to go back through and like edit more of it out.
I use my own judgment. If there's like, there's like, dude, was it Get Low or one of those songs? It's like they kind of say things a little too sexual for me. Like if it makes me uncomfortable, if I'm looking at the hardest thing is DJing, you're looking at a little kid and you're playing these records. I'm just like, it's like telling them about Santa, you're just kind of like, yo, I don't want to do this to you, man. Like, I'm just, hold on. Like, I gotta like be conscious of who you're playing for. And it's just, it's kind of, you don't want to make the parent uncomfortable either. Like this is a place that everyone is it's a safe spot. You want to go enjoy a game. And I think you got to use your head, like don't play something that sounds bad. Or we've never gotten rules. They've always just kind of trusted our judgment, but I'll go in there and make sure like Knife Talk will say certain, like a Drake in 21 will certain things will, it's kind of sexual. Some of the stuff he says, or like he'll say some bad shit about like, sexual stuff. And I'm just like, yo, even if it's the clean version, it insinuates some other stuff. It's just, I can't put that in there.
Yeah.
So
that was like the Rich Flex, like one of the pictures came out to it and I had to like edit the clean version because he says like, I know you're on your period, but can you suck it? It's like, he's like a pitcher running onto the field.
I think that was the song. Yeah. And I think that was the song that was like, yo, it like saying suck it in an arena or a ballpark or something. You're just kind of like, to us, we're like, oh, whatever, that's nothing. But you just don't want to have like, think if you were like, if you had kids or if you do have kids or whatever, and you bring them to the game, like you don't want to hear that. You want to get away from that stuff. And it's just kind of like, you got to walk that line. You got to be smart about it. So I think just, using your common sense and what makes you feel uncomfortable. If you had somebody next to you that was a little bit younger, niece, nephew, or whoever, be whatever. But they never really gave us any rules. They actually brought us in there. We were the first kind of like full-time DJs for this program they rolled out like 5 years ago. And I was like, what do you guys want us to do? And they're like, I don't know, just do your thing. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, this is okay. So we kind of came up with our own program collectively, me and another guy, and then they added one more guy. But like we kind of just like, is this right? And as long as we don't get like bad feedback, we just keep rolling with it. But they've been pretty, like they kind of just, I respect the fact that just kind of like, do your thing. We trust you. We trust your music knowledge. Like, this is what people want. The crowds, it's been, I actually play when doors open too. And I'm playing like throwback rock music, like the old like Blink songs and Fall Out Boys and stuff like that era. And we get a lot of messages. I'm getting a lot of tweets. Like you can just see hashtag Blackhawks and you can see that people are like, yo, this is the greatest thing. Like I'm hearing Paramore, like these records. It's, it's kind of cool. So I kind of found that kind of went in that direction a little bit.
One of the things we were talking about at the beginning is kind of your come up, and we kind of got a little sidetracked. I wanted to ask, how did you kind of get into the radio and the B96 and then launch kind of in the club scene? You said you were doing a lot of mobiles.
So the mobiles and the club stuff, I would do mobile and then go straight to the nightclub to promote, or because like we were throwing parties. Those guys that that were doing a lot of the big promotions in Chicago worked for the radio station, and they got me an internship. I was working under one of the producers, and he's like, I was sleeping at the radio station for a few years, not full time sleeping there, but I'd get off at the nightclub at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I have a shift at 6, and I was living in the suburbs, which is I was the first suburb. I grew up in the first suburb west of Chicago, which is only like a 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive, but still like going there and going back home, it's stupid. So I would just sleep on the floor of the radio station because I wasn't making money. I wasn't making anything like crazy and anything. I was technically still in school. And I would sleep on the floor and get up, do my shift from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m., go home, shower, take a nap, and then go back out and do the club again. But I think that time I started DJing actually at nightclubs. So I was hosting a lot of nightclubs, and then went into DJing. And people wouldn't even give me a chance at first. They'd be like, "Oh, you just host. You do the microphone." And I'm like, "No, I DJ too. I just haven't DJ'd out. I've just been DJing in my bedroom, And they gave me an opportunity, and I had some bad ones, and I've been pulled off the decks before, but you learn. And I'm like, cool, that's not what you do here, or whatever it is. And then I started playing in smaller places and got more opportunities, and eventually got some great headlining spots that kind of put me, just kind of gave me some recognition in the city and gave me some a little small spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And then got on an agency and got on Scam, and then kind of been traveling ever since. It's been a lot.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, one, why Jerzy, and then two, talk a little bit about the branding and stuff, because I've always loved the way you've branded your stuff, and it's all the mascot and the mid-century kind of look and all that.
As there's diner signs behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Jerzy thing came from I was working at Best Buy. This is when I was promoting in nightclubs and stuff, and they go to me. The guy I worked with had a fake ID, and his name it's a Polish name, Jerzy. His first name it means George. I'm 100% Polish, and he was just like, "Yo, use my ID to get in." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll just roll with it." I was like, and then I would go to nightclubs, and the people I'd roll in with, I'd be like, "Yo, just tell them my name is Jerzy," because if you go "Yo, my real name's Andrew," and they'd be like, "Andrew, come up the stairs, or come follow me." You can't say that because they're gonna be like, "Yo, the security guy just said your name was Jerzy. What is this?" So I said, "Just hey, wherever we go, the name is Jerzy." And the guy, we didn't really look similar. It's just it just worked just for what it was. But it's kind of like a McLovin story. It was just a good fake ID.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's
it's
amazing.
good. Yeah, I love it.
So good.
And then I started doing radio, and I was doing demos, and my team, my guys that I was producing the shows for, doing all the work for behind the scenes, they're helping me with my demos, and I was voicing, and I was just saying I said my name was Drew. I was like, "Yo, it's Drew, Andrew." I was trying to be cool, and they're like, "No, why don't you just go? We all call you Jerzy. Why don't you just go Jerzy?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's not my real name. It's just it's weird, man." And they're like, "Dude, it's radio. Just do it." And in back of my head, I'm like, this is something that's gonna be with me the rest of my life. In back of my head, I knew that, but at the time, I also just go yeah, whatever. Let's just roll with it. And every demo after that just said Jerzy. And then I got on the radio full time, and it was like, all right, well, it's Jerzy. And the DJing was Jerzy, and everything was just Jerzy. And then it just turned into Jerzy. And then I go, what is Jerzy? What is this? And I'm like, I love marketing. I love just identity. And I love things that kind of spark maybe something else, or just kind of things that are left field, and creativity drives me. So I told my designer at the time, Wayne Ward, he was doing Kanye shit at the time. Actually, he did all Kanye's stuff. He worked at our radio station, and John Legend, all those guys. So he's really super talented. And I go, man, I need a logo. And he's giving me these like whack logos. I was just like, dude, this is terrible. He made me like a Lego man one time. I'm like, I don't want a Lego man. I'm like, there's nothing. I don't like Legos. And then we did I'm like, give me some like a cursive, like, so we made this cursive kind of logo. Then I was like, I want a character. Give me like this, like, give me some sort of like character, because I don't know what Jerzy is. It's just a nickname, but like, I want something to like really stand out. I'm like, give me like some sort of weird guy. So he drew this like little character, and we ran with it. And then I had this character for so long, and one day I just go, I'm going to make a mascot. And that was a very weird time in my life, because I did do a lot of research on mascots, and there's a dark place for mascots, man. If you look, they have like conventions and they do some weird stuff. So
it's like a furry. It's like a furry,
man,
or if
yeah. So if you search the wrong thing about mascots, you're gonna pull up some weird shit. I'm gonna tell you that. So I started doing mascot research, and I found a company. For some reason, every company that made good mascot costumes were located in Toronto, and it was like they were all within the same block. It was like a mascot block. And I found this company, and yeah, it's the weird, dude, I'm telling you, it was like a weird time in my life. I'm like, I don't know what I'm Googling here. I'm seeing like these weird videos. Anyway, so please don't let this be the title of the podcast, like this furry thing. Yeah. So I got this company to make this mascot costume, and it's like really professionally, like it's like something.
That's amazing.
You would see it at a theme park. I mean, it has fans in it. It was like the Marshmallow before Marshmallow, and like, you know, it's been a long time I've had this thing, and I bring it out when I can. It's kind of a big production, because it is big and massive, but it's fun. We just do fun things with it.
And you wear it, or you have somebody
No.
somebody else that wears it and does the.
I try to find usually it's one of my friends that are like, it's pretty drunk. And I'll just be like, hey, man, put this on. And actually, it happened one time in spring break. We brought it to Cancun, and one of our buddies.
How do you fly with that?
I put it in a hockey bag. If it's in a hockey bag, you tag it. I feel bad for the TSA people that have to open it up. You know, when I check it, gate check it. Like I know they have questions like, what the hell is going on with this? So I'll find. Usually, it's people that. You know, a good friend of mine, or someone who's just really drunk, and put him in it, and or someone that lost a bet. So this guy that we went to Cancun, he was like a chain smoker, like not the DJs, but just like legitimately just smoking like crazy. And I just got this costume, right? And I tell him, I'm like, man, just take good care of it. Do not smoke. Whatever you do not smoke in it. I look over to the side after a half hour. He's sitting there. He's like a Simpsons like fucking episode, just like sitting there on the side rail, drinking shots and smoking because he's stressed out because he's so hot in the costume. I'm like, I just told you it's gonna go up in flames. It's all felt, you know. I'm like, do not smoke in this costume. This thing is just reeking of cigarettes afterwards. I had to get the whole thing professionally cleaned and stuff. But like, yeah, it's fun. We do some cool stuff with it, you know. I still get people. They're like, "Who is that? Is that?" I'm like, "Dude, it's my mascot, man. I don't know. It's just, it's." I did some cool videos. We messed around with, try to come up with a little bit of a backstory to play around with it, play around with people. You know, if people are that interested in it, like I send them to the backstory of it. And, you know, we made masks, and I don't know. It's been fun. It's just a cool little, you know, sideshow piece that sometimes bring along, and some rooms love it. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, I wish I did more with it in terms of like either, hey, that's actually a version of me or something, but like my logo on it's like very small on his hat. I wish I put it bigger because everyone takes photos with it. Like I let them run around the crowd sometimes, and it's just they don't even know who it is. They're just, oh, I gotta get a photo, and it's just like they're everywhere. No one tags it or anything, but there's thousands of photos, I'm sure, just all over. People's like,
maybe you could change the, is it like a shirt, like some kind of shirt,
like
and maybe on the back it's like hashtag Jerzy or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a jumpsuit. The company is like, it was like really expensive to get made, like really, really expensive. And like I said, everything's like really custom. So like the arms are attached to the jumpsuit. So it's like, it's weird. So if I would have to get it like almost like redone, like that, the body part. But I was thinking of doing something like that, like a different, face on it.
Yeah, I was wondering if some of the clubs like requested and make you bring it in.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal, part of the contract.
Yeah, I've had a few places. Yeah, a good number of places. Like I had to bring it to Hawaii, brought it to Boston recently, brought it to Cleveland. Yeah, it's usually like I always say, I'm like, I just need a bigger room. Like I need bigger spaces. Like don't put me in a small, more intimate space because it's too hard for them to navigate, to walk around, and there's not enough room. And then people like, everyone, like I said, it's like everyone takes photos with it and they do weird shit with it. So I'm just like, I don't travel with like security, or I don't travel with like a whole crew of people. So I kind of leave it up to whoever, like, someone who's like kind of my liaison at the gig to kind of handle it. But then they're usually drunk. So then I'm like, where did the shoes go? Like, or we lost the mittens. Like it's happened. And like the shoes are like $500 by themselves. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh
God,
man.
dude. I
Yeah.
couldn't
I'm like,
imagine.
my videographer lost the shoes, and I'm telling you, these things are like boats. I mean, they're massive. And I go to him, I'm like, what'd you do with the shoes, man? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, how did you misplace shoes? Like they're like giraffe feet, man. Like, where did they go? It's like you don't. They're not tiny. Like if they were anywhere, if they were in someone's closet, you'd be like, those don't belong there. Those are a little bit. Those are for something else. He lost the fucking shoes. I don't know where the shoes went. So we had to order new shoes, and that comes from Toronto, custom made, and all this stuff. So yeah, it's
People are
fun.
the worst.
Yeah, it's a production, and it is what it is.
Are you doing any kind of marketing stuff outside of your own DJ brand? Do you do marketing at all?
Dude, I do small things. Like we're through a few parties. Like some of the venues that I've played at have asked me to do like, hey, come up with a night concept, like a concept for a party, an idea to help with the marketing and the branding of a party. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying blank Fridays, we did Lost and Found, and the whole it was more of creative direction for it. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of like Lost and Found was basically just things that we used to see, and the visuals would be it was like a static TV, and it would keep changing to different things, but it'd be trippy, kind of like Twilight Zone meets Stranger Things with a little bit of like late night TV, like infomercial type shit. So like blockbuster video commercials, but then we would do stuff to their face to make it a little bit trippy. And I think the backstory on that was more of just like kind of coming up with a cool marketing concept, but also like being able to give it a reason why we're playing some throwbacks. It's like, hey, why are you playing these? Well, these are songs that are kind of lost, and we like found them again. Like, these are ones like the ones that you're DJing. You're like, oh shit, I love this. I can't believe we're playing this. I'm hearing this. And that's when I was telling you earlier, I said, some people like this song, and all of a sudden they go to this song. I'm like, wait, how do you not know this? And it's figuring those things out. So I did a lot of that testing. But other marketing, I'm partner in a venue in Arizona called Kala. I help out with some of the direction for that. We do I did a party called Sundance on Sundays, and do some of the creative direction for that. But yeah, I mean, I naturally just love it. I'm working on a project right now. It's up until like 2:00 in the morning, kind of designing a logo for another one I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, I'm always down for it. I don't necessarily think I don't. It's not like I get hired to do that, like paid. But it's just, I think now it just comes with the job. Where they're like, hey, if we're booking you, we know what you could. Like, hey, we know you DJ, but can you also do this too on top of it? It's more of like added value.
Yeah.
So I think they see that, and they're just kind of like, yo, he's not just DJing, he's actually coming up, helping us with a marketing plan on this. And whatever, anything I could do to help, it's cool.
And you play that venue in Scottsdale quite often.
Yeah, so we opened almost a year and a half ago. It's like a restaurant. It's more of a restaurant, but it has this like, when I say experiences now, I feel like a lot of these rooms are kind of turning into, they're like restaurant, but with the DJ, but also that's a kind of a focal point in the experience. The place feels like very Tulum-ish. It's kind of a trendy. I think that everyone's trying to do that, but it's just female driven. The music is very kind of vibey, and like we switch the formats up a little bit as the night goes on. Like initially the night would be more of like kind of the Rufus vibe, and then it goes into some of like the sing along vocal house songs, like the poppy stuff, and then we'll go into, I like to do like throwbacks at the end of like Calvin Harris's and stuff like that, but all kind of keeping it with that house upbeat world. And and then we do kind of like a brunch party on Sundays that is it's just a sexy brunch, and it's just really just nothing but girls there. It's crazy because I think that most places would die to have the kind of crowd that we get in there, but we just naturally are getting groups of females. And I don't know if it's just the ropes and all the decor and the flowers or whatever, but it's just like they love the vibe in there. And I think it's been going really well. We actually need guys, so if you guys are like just in the area, we go there and it's just like the room is just all women, and there's
Sounds awful.
Yeah, and on a business level, it kind of is, because we actually need guys in there because the girls are just standing around, like, and sure, some of them want to just hang out, but some of them are looking to meet people, or some of them want to socialize or whatever. Well, it's like a big bachelorette party in there, but not necessarily that wild. There's not blow up penises and stuff, but it's just big groups, huge groups of girls going to brunch, and there's not one guy in this restaurant, and I'm just like, this is a good problem to have, I guess. It's been going really well, just super excited for the other things we have coming.
That's awesome. One of the things too we wanted to touch on a little bit was in the bio, of course, you've got that you were a top 100 DJ, and how that kind of came about.
Dude, it's the weirdest, and it was
is this what's what's the magazine with the brand that does that?
No,
DJ Mag.
That was not in DJ Mag. This was they did this thing, and I think Morse Code was listed ahead of me. There was I think I came in like, I don't know, I forgot what number exactly, but my buddy was that was like doing my design and stuff, and he's like, dude, what if you're 99? I'm like, it's still top 100, asshole. I'm like, just roll with it. I'm like, who cares? I'm like, but that was just it was kind of a joke, because like it was the article it was called Sun Times Network.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but there were a lot of guys that were in it that I don't know if it's a credible thing. It could be just whoever, but there were a lot of guys in this publication that were credible, and that I was kind of like I said, Morse Code is like, he I've known him for a minute just from playing in Chicago and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but and he's really talented. He's a really great DJ and really talented musically, and just great knowledge, but not necessarily on billboards everywhere. He's not doing that type of, that's not his direction. But I think he was on there, and some other guys, and I was just like, yo, this has to be credible. I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. So we rolled with it, and I forgot what number I came into, but there was a lot of open format guys, and it was top 100 DJs, but it was like mainly it was in the open format world. So it wasn't like I was beating out Tiesto or anything like that.
No, I love it. You gotta believe the hype, man. You gotta
we gotta keep it vague in the bio. It's just like it made you guys ask, so I'm not gonna hide anything. But yeah, that's it looks, it's definitely, there's certain things, and like, you see in everybody's bio, they put certain elements in there, and I try to be as truthful as I can be, but I can't go into the description and say a million different. I can't say, when you write a bio, you're not going to put like, well, it was actually, I came in at 87, but there was these guys ahead of me. So you just kind of keep it vague, and just like, yo, if you got questions, I'll tell you the truth. I don't really care. But it definitely, brings up like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, that's great. One of the things too we wanted to ask about was just kind of going from playing gigs in Chicago, and then going from that to going to Vegas and playing Tao in Vegas, and kind of I don't know, like, I don't want to say like the headspace, but like just kind of managing expectations and like all that.
Vegas is Vegas is weird, because I started in Vegas in 2012 playing. I got some guest spots here and there, Vegas is a weird place because they don't want you in Vegas unless you've played Vegas. But you can't play Vegas. It's just like it's like a catch-22. You know, it's like they won't let you in unless you play, but you can't play unless you get in. It's just, you know, whatever. I had some guest spots. They were kind of like poking me in there, and I played Bank, and I played somewhere else. I forgot the other place. One Oak, and they were giving me some spots, and then I knew a bunch of people just from the industry, like just from Chicago or wherever, and some other people gave me some shots, some opportunities, and even at Win, when I started playing at Win, they were like, "Yo, we'd book you, but like you don't. We can't just say you're a good DJ. Like you got to, other places kind of have to book you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I knew at the time the guy who was doing the music director for the Win, and then I was doing, you know, good stuff in Chicago and some other places. I got on Scam. I started traveling, and they actually asked me to play Tao. And I was like, all right, cool. Or actually, I played Lavo. I was playing Lavo when that was still open. So I was doing Lavo, and they took a liking to me, started doing Lavo. And the guy that was in charge at the time really kind of groomed me. He's like, I'm grooming you for Tao. I'm grooming you for Tao. And I was like, okay. So I was taking notes, and like my first show was with Shaq. It's like the weirdest shit. Like, dude, my hand is like, this is like Shaq's hand. This is my hand. And like, he's like, hey man, nice to meet you. I'm just like, holy shit. And like, I want to say he wasn't DJing at the time because I actually had to show him how to use everything. He wanted to DJ. He was supposed to just host. And he's like towering over me. It was like, it was in like all the tabloid magazines. Like you just see me like, all right, man, I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'2". And this guy, I look this. And I'm like, so I kind of taught him how to DJ. I'm not gonna take credit for it, but I was showing him how to use the equipment in the photo. He DJ'd a little bit that night, but then Tao Group took a liking to me, and then the Win came back and was like, "Yo, you're playing Tao Group. We'll book you over here." So actually, Win gave me my first full time kind of like opportunities in Vegas, where I was playing Tryst, and then eventually we started doing Excess on Sundays. And then I got to Tao Group, and then then I did Daylight Light, and just a few places. But Vegas is different. It's people I think that Vegas is, man, you play all the cool shit, you play the new stuff. It's like, you know, this is amazing, you know, and you actually got to play like the dumbest of the dumb, and not saying the people, just you got to make sure that you know who you're talking to, who your audience is. We always said that in radio, like. You can be so smart and you can speak so your vocabulary could be higher than everybody else's, but you have to realize you got to speak to the lowest, because that's what's ultimately going to cover the most ground. And that's the same as in Vegas. Like the crowds you're playing for are people that don't go out, but they're in Vegas and they want to go out for the first time. So you got to make them feel comfortable when you're in that room. So you got to play familiar records. You got to engage on them. The biggest thing I've learned about Vegas is that if you're not good on a microphone, you're not going to survive. You have to walk them through everything, and you have to be comfortable. You don't let them see you sweat. That's another thing that I think is really important. Never let them see you sweat. Like once they know that you're not comfortable or you're not confident on the microphone, they're not going to listen to what you say. So if you're telling them to put their hands up, but your voice cracks in the middle of it, or you're just kind of shaking when you're saying it, or it's not very present, you know, it's not deep enough, they don't do it, and you lose them. So other things you say, it just kind of gets lost in the mix, and then you just kind of lost the crowd. And that's another thing I learned in Vegas, is that like your first 2 minutes sets the tone for the rest of your set for the next 2 hours. You have to come out big. That's what they always taught us. Like I told you, I went to boot camp. I have like notes. I still have notes in a journal about like all the stuff that they taught us. Like I would get a conference call every week I played, and you know, I was flying out there pretty often. Being from Chicago, like there weren't a lot of people coming from other places. Like LA was pretty common, but New York was a little bit, but no one really from the Midwest that was playing there as frequently as I was. And I didn't want to lose it, so I would constantly take notes and make sure I knew what I was doing. But the notes were basically come out big, come out strong, hit an intro, get their attention right in the beginning. You got to come out with the biggest songs in the world come out with those. No matter if they're a rap song, find a remix. Just you got to have something with energy, and keep it up from there. Once you got them there, once you knock out that first hour, you're good. Like you can breathe. Once that first hour hits, I'm like, I'll take a sip of a drink, or I'll turn around and say what's up to my friends for a second. But that first hour, you have to go full force. Like I'm dripping in sweat. I'm just like, it's like a workout. But after that hour, you could you still got to go, but like, you got them at that point. In Vegas, you can't lose them. If you lose them, you're gone. And working that microphone is so important.
I do that with weddings. I just come out. I do a lot of weddings, and I just come out swinging out the gate. And I talk to a lot of wedding DJs that just kind of slowly open up the room. But I feel like that exactly what you're saying. That first 20 minutes, 30 minutes sets the tone for the whole night. Then you can do anything you want. They're just like, oh, I'm down. This guy's dope.
It makes your job easy. Yeah, exactly.
Go on the ride.
And I think it's relatability too. I like to call people out sometimes on the microphone, or make them feel like they're included, and not necessarily it's just like me on a pedestal and they're looking up at me like a god or something. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, because you're just like, listen, I want to be like you guys. We're all in this together. Let's have a fun time. And I'm like, I'll say like so-and-so in the front row. It's like, it's your birthday? And they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, what's your name? And like, I'll have a little one-on-one with everybody in the room. And then they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, like we'll do stuff like collectively, because then now it's like you're kind of breaking down these walls. And I think that's really important in relating and connecting with people, is you got to break down that wall where it's not necessarily like, look at me, I'm just going to do my thing. And, in the rooms that I have to play and I get booked in, like you have to be engaging with these people, and that's what they want. And that's how you stay. That's how you keep their attention.
A lot of it probably came from you just being a radio host and doing some of those parties coming up, right? I mean, that vibe of how you're explaining it really sounds like that. Just being a good radio host and doing those parties. Yeah,
it started with me just like I said, when I was hosting, even for the mobile DJing stuff, when you first start out, they kind of wanted you more on the microphone and let the other guy DJ. And I was taking notes on programming at that point, but it taught me how to command an audience. Even at high school proms had 4,000 people at them. We were doing proms with 4,000 people. Name a nightclub that has 4,000 people. There's not that many of them around the country. So seeing this huge, a gymnasium full of like kids, or a field of kids, and when the music stops, dude, they threw candy at us because for some reason they were passing out candy, and that was a different start. But some asshole gave them jawbreakers, so they're throwing jawbreakers at us, and like that sucked. But I learned to like just kind of go, whatever. If shit happens, it happens, and you just roll with the punches. And even when the music stops or something goes on, to get on the microphone, and you instantly start coming up with something. You make it like, don't let them see you sweat. Just be like, that was supposed to happen. You roll with the punches. If the music stops, I'll get on the microphone and say something like, all right. Are we warmed up? And it'll just be natural. And then that whole time I'm panicking in the inside, but my voice is not depicting that. It's very calm, collecting, like, hey, we're doing this, and no one notices. And I think that's just the ability to ad lib too. Like ad libbing is really big. You got to get, you're gonna get curveballs thrown at you, so you just had to be on your toes the whole time. That's what radio kind of taught me, and just being comfortable on a microphone. And I didn't even go into that. Like when I started DJing, like I'm sure you guys too, like DJing on a microphone was really just a New York thing. It really wasn't it didn't come from LA. It wasn't big in LA. Like it wasn't definitely not big here. All the guys I looked up to really didn't touch a microphone. I was just hosting nightclubs at the time. We had a host. The DJ would DJ, and there would be a host on the side interacting with people. Mm-hmm. And I would be that guy. So now it just goes to show you never know where these talents that you've worked on that were just kind of getting you through and getting you to the next step end up becoming one of your strongest talents once you've made it. Yeah, I think that I really do. I do think that I'm not like, dude, I'm not turntablist. I'm not like, I'm not going to be someone that's going to win, some like crazy awards for Red Bull. And actually, they asked me to do a Red Bull thing. I was like, I'm not your guy for that. Like, it's cool. I could do I would like to think I could do creative stuff and like do some fun stuff, but I'm not a guy I don't want to be in a competition like that. That's not something I'm looking forward to. Like, I don't need that validation. Not saying the guys that enter it need it, but that's not something that I'm looking to do. I'm just simply music for people. Even as a kid, I was like I used to put my phone conversations like, yo, you hear this? I put my phone up to the speaker and play it for people I was talking to, and I don't know. I just like playing music for people. That's where more of my passion comes from. Not necessarily like turntablism or even DJing. Like I'm not like a
It's
like
curating. No,
yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm not like a DJ nerd, not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just trying to think of the right terminology for it. Like, I'm not really invested into someone's like, yo, like I'll talk to some guys and I'll be like, yo, you got this equipment? You know about this? I'm like, bro, I barely know how to turn my laptop on. I'm like, I know what works. It works. We make it go. I know, like, I love programming. I'm a big advocate of programming. I think that's very, very important. So I do spend a lot of time knowing the temperature of a room and understanding where the songs need to be. And like, when I hear a song, I could tell you like visually in my head the way I would perceive that song being what part of the night. I say, for me, like a song like All of the Lights, I picture that more of an evening, like towards the end of the night, like where it's kind of like, everyone's coming together. We got out of this. We started off with this. We got to this part. We got this part. Now we're just in this like big synth, like happy, like let's get the lights going. Like it's kind of like the finale part. That's where I picture those records. I'm a big visual person. So like for me, like I visualize music more than I hear it. So I picture it.
I hear that
Yeah.
song and it's like, oh, this is a 4, this is a 5, or I kind of number it of like where it's at, excitement wise. But yeah, I feel this. I feel
Yeah.
it.
And you take them on a journey. It's a story too. To me, maybe I'm just getting the story, but subconsciously I think they do too. And they understand that like, this is the sad part of the sad part. We may play some emo records. We may play some stuff with like a different in a key that's kind of like more of a monotone. It's just, and then it comes back up, or you come to this aggressive part of the night where it's like, yeah, and then like you're badass. And then it's like goes to this part where it's like fluffy again. I think that to me is the way that drives the way I like play nightclubs and music in general. It's more of a visual experience in my head and the way I see the way people react.
100.
One of the things that we do like to do, if you're cool with it, or have even a story, is we like to ask a crazy story. We know we're running out of time here, but we'll play this video, and if you want to tell us a story from a night gone amazing, a night gone bad, or just a really memorable night from the booth, we'll get to it. And I'll play this video real quick, and we'll come back.
Wait. Pull what out? The dart, man. Got a fucking dart in your neck. You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you. But you're crazy.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
I need to doctor that one a little bit more. It needs a build up into it, but yeah.
Dude, I don't know how many people are like still aware of that movie. Like it to me, like that's just a classic. But if you ask some of the like, I don't know, younger kids are like, I've never heard of Old School. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, that's like the best movie of all time. I'm like, it's amazing.
Some of them have watched Animal House before they've watched Old School. Like, because like in the frats or whatever, they're still showing that just on repeat.
Yeah, it's wild. It's such a great movie, but you don't even see it on TV that much anymore. Yeah, so crazy story. I would say this one probably is the one I could say that like is more is the cleanest one. But
They doesn't have to be clean. We don't care.
No, it does. Yeah,
Clean
yeah.
for himself, maybe.
So it wasn't at a
exactly.
mascot event. It wasn't at one of the mascot events.
No. There's been some nights where I'm just like, I don't know if I can get into that. But I was doing a show in south of France, and they don't really speak English. If you've been to France before, like in Paris, they don't care that you speak English. They're not even trying to understand it. So you can imagine the south of France, where there's like it was like a suburb in the south of France. I took a train from Paris 3 hours down, and it was like Montpellier. I still really don't know too much about the area. I mean, I walked around, but it's a small town, and there was a club out there, and I got booked for it through somebody, and they're like, "Yo, you'll be great for it." I was like, "All right, cool." So I was like, I went out there. I had a buddy with me, and I don't know where he ended up going. I think he left me, and I'm stuck at this club, and no one speaks English at all. And I'm DJing and I'm playing the records. I'm thinking everything's great, and they're like, "Yo, you're amazing," like whatever. As much as like I'm like, dude, I felt like a celebrity. They're hugging me. I'm just like, "Yo, this is the shit." I'm like, I'm gonna move here, I was like, I don't know what anyone's saying, but I'm like, "Yo, this is the most." I've never gotten this much love before, anywhere. It's just like it was really cool. So at the end of the night, my liaison, or the guy who like kind of set me up with the show, and it went through the agency, but the agency my agency said, "Hey, you got to collect." And I was like, "Okay, cool. So like, what's the deal? Like, just collect at the end." They're like, "Yeah, they'll pay you at the end." I'm like, "Cool." So I'm like, "All right." So I find like a manager. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm trying to do sign language." I'm like, "Check," like, I'm like, money. I was like, I don't, he's like, "Oh, comes with me." So I walk down this dark hallway. I'm with by myself. When my boy went, I'm just like by myself. This place was massive, huge. It was a big venue. Walking down this hallway, get to this room, and guys like in there. I'm like, all right. So I go in this room, and there's like 5 guys with leather jackets, like in a boardroom.
What?
Smoking cigarettes, like a mop, dude. This was like, it was like the movie Taken. Like, they're just sitting there, like, just looking at me, and I'm like, "Hey, fellas, how you doing? I need to collect a check." And then they just start looking at each other, like, and then they're pointing at, like, I mean, this was like, I thought I was gonna get killed, like I really did. Like this was a complete, like, old school, like it wasn't even the nice leather jackets. It was like the shitty, like really rough, big trench coat leather jackets these guys were all in. They're smoking cigarettes, like just the whole room was a cloud of smoke, and they're just drinking, sitting there looking at me, and they wouldn't just stop staring. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do, man. I'm freaking out. And I'm like texting my boy. I'm like, "Yo, man, they're just staring at me right now. I don't know. I just want to get my money, get the fuck out."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hold on, let me text them." So he's texting them. They're just looking at me, giving me hard looks. Guy gets up, and he like, I don't even know what he gave me, like I think it was a check. I don't even know what it was. I just ran out the room as fast as I could. And like, yeah, but that was but then I found out I was supposed to do another show a year later, and the club mysteriously burned down. It was electrical fire. The week I was going out there, it was electrical fire. So now I'm starting to think, I'm like, they were some sort of like French mob that controlled that room or whatever, that nightclub, because it was. And then I heard some shady stuff, like there was a competitor down the street. They set that place on fire. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like everyone's just like, yeah. So luckily I didn't have to go back, but it was a cool room. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the check was good. The check was legit.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. I hope it cashed. I don't really know. It doesn't go to me. It goes to the agency. So I think I got paid on it, but
gotcha.
yeah, it was weird.
But you said they're not willing to hear any English music. So what are you playing the whole night?
Down. So in France, and this is a time like when Spotify just kind of came out. It wasn't like huge, but now it's like with the internet, foreign places, even Tokyo and like Japan, it's just like they know the records. But at the time they would be like, "Yo, play Future." I'm like, play Future. Okay, I play Future. I play Rick Ross. I'm like, Rick Ross. And then I would play a record by like someone around that. Okay, if I played Pop That, they don't know Pop That though, but they know a Future. Like it was like, well, how do you guys know this one but not this one?
Right.
And it was just like it was kind of a guessing game. So there was times like that where you just kind of feel it out, and but they liked it because it was all hip hop, and that's what I kind of rolled with. But like they would know, like at the time, like like Ti, What You Know was like kind of an anthem. Everyone kind of knew that, and they didn't know that. That's not a song that Ti is not an artist that they knew out there at the time. But
Wow.
they know Future. They knew anything Drake and Future.
Of course.
You were good. Like you could just do your whole night like that. But that was definitely there was a language. They don't really know the words. They hum everything. They kind of go They know like how it goes.
That's wild.
That's wild. One of the things that we like to kind of wrap with is what we call the sauce. We're going to play this video, and then we're going to ask you a couple questions just to wrap with. Well, we're going to roll this video.
The name is Bootsy, baby. And this shout out goes out to Drew and Fuse, all the way from Cincinnati to the LBC Bobble. Yeah, I was told you guys are quite the chefs, and you got a delicious sauce that you cooked up. Ooh! And it drips that swagoo and breaks down the recipe. Yeah, and you giving up the P, cause it's funky. As in good, that is. Finger funkin' good. On the one by the power of the one. Yeah, without that, there is none. So get yours and be in tune with the one that loves you. Get it, baby.
You guys use Cameo or something, right? Because these are crazy. Like this
Fuse knows him from Cincinnati.
Yo, that dude. Wow. That was awesome. I don't know what happened, but that was great.
That one just keeps going. When you think it's going to end, it just keeps going.
Yeah, I was like, are they going to jump in here? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, this guy's going. Yeah, that's cool.
So what we like to do with the sauce is just ask a piece of advice you would give your younger self. Anything that maybe you would have done different coming up. Anything for other DJs that are listening that you think is important.
I thought about this recently, that I think it's important to, and I don't even know if this is like a real quote, but I kind of made it up, or if this is something that I don't know, twisted in my own head. But like, I think it's really important to learn how to fall. And what I mean by that is, like, as a kid, you learn how to fall, but you know how to pick yourself back up. And I think for DJing and for anything that applies, where like, if you take an L on something, you're falling, but you know how to get back up and recover from that. So if you're at your peak and you're DJing, you're doing all these clubs, like, if you don't know how to like manage that happiness and the highs and lows, you're not going to be able to know what to do when you do hit a low point. It may not be you. It may be just the market. It just may be the circumstances that we're in right now. And I'm saying that collectively is in like, everything goes in waves. So there's certain times that you can be doing everything right, but you keep taking L's on stuff, and you think that you're down, but like, you know how to fall properly, you know how to manage that. You can pivot, you can do other things that can bring in income, but still stay in that same world. So I think it's important, if you learn how to fall, you can get back up, and you can take on other opportunities and not get discouraged. So, like I said, that was very weird. That was deep, but
no, I think it's important.
Yeah,
I think that's it's a good point.
Yeah, it's important. You have to. You got to be able to take that L. Some of my favorite stuff is the journey and just like the travel to the top. Right, once you're at the top, it's like, this was easy. But it's the struggle and how hard it was just building yourself back up and getting there. I like that part of it, after
just like,
it's all said and done.
Yeah, or just like the losses in terms of like, dude, you came up with an idea, it didn't work. Like, who cares,
Right.
man? Like, and or you're worried that like, man, I don't want to put these edits out or whatever because people are going to judge me on it. Like, dude, who cares? They suck. Good, cool. But like, eventually they're going to get good if you just keep at it. So like, I'm not going to get discouraged if people did. I mean, when I first started DJing, people were giving me shit the whole time. They're like, I was getting ripped off. I was pulled off the decks and everything. I learned how to fail. Like, I was like, I'm cool. Like, I'm still whatever. I work myself back up. So now if it happens to me, I brush it off. Or if it doesn't happen to me, I know how to manage both, like success and failure. It's just a good way of, for me to, I think it's really important for anybody. It's just, if you learn how to fall, you're going to know how to get back up if something does happen.
Yeah.
No,
I love it.
Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice. And I think that's a good note to kind of wrap on here. If there's anything you want to promote, or if there's anything you want to push, or any social media links, just hit us with those.
Yeah, everything's at Jerzy Music, Jerzy, and Muzik. At the time, Google wasn't a thing, so didn't know about search engines, and I probably wouldn't do that again. But but I do get my username on everything because no one uses it. So thank God. Jerzy Music on everything. Website jerseymusic.com. I keep that up to date. I'm actually like OCD, so I keep everything really like up to date. I try to manage that the best I can. Things to look forward to. If you're in Arizona, come to Kala. It's in Scottsdale in the Old Town. It's a great restaurant. And if you're in Chicago, I'm around. So I'm usually here at least during the week, and I'll probably play about a show here and there. And then out of town, it's I'm in Vegas next month. I'm in. I just came back from Austin, so it just hops around. Salt Lake City too. So I don't know, anywhere. Just kind of wherever the schedule takes me, I go. And yeah, just come say hi. I'm pretty cool. If you want to like dress up in the mascot costume, it's cool. We don't pay anything for it. You may get some cool high fives and photos and maybe a few free shots. But yeah, just don't smoke in it and you're good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for today. We appreciate you for coming on, and until next time, we'll talk to everybody later. See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Peace.